Apple Silicon will not be getting Windows 11 on ARM support. Could Apple release the AirPods 3 in multiple colours? And there's an Apple event today. Plus, your questions iCave answered. I'm iCave Dave and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you. And if you want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours every weekday at 12 UTC, like this video, subscribe to the channel and ring my bell. And let's just address the elephant in the room, this massive spot on my nose. Not a lot I can do about it. Sorry. I know it's going to be distracting. Right from the start, one of the big questions about Apple Silicon and the M1 specifically was how long it would take to get its own version of Boot Camp, Apple's dual boot solution which allowed macOS machines to run alongside Windows. We waited and Parallels brought their virtual machine tech to Apple Silicon M1, allowing for those with access to the Windows Insider program and Windows on ARM installers to try it out, albeit not in an officially licensed way. Apple themselves came out and said that there's no technical reason that the M1 couldn't run Microsoft Windows, but that it would come down to Microsoft to allow it in terms of official support on their side. Well, Microsoft have finally spoken, and they've said that running ARM versions of Windows 11 on Apple Silicon is not a supported scenario. And this doesn't just mean a new generation of Boot Camp is not coming, but that Microsoft doesn't want Windows running on virtual machines or on bare hardware either. While this might seem a little strange for a company who historically made their money from selling an operating system to install on whatever pile of hardware you haphazardly threw together, it's possible that Microsoft is holding the ARM version back for OEMs going forward just as they do right now. It's important to remember too that this is one of the areas where Microsoft is producing their own hardware, and ARM-based hardware at that, and that Windows on ARM has been virtualized in the past on Apple Silicon, and even running on top of Apple's macOS, it has completely obliterated the performance of the best first-party Microsoft Surface hardware, and that was probably pretty embarrassing for Microsoft. So, what does the future hold for Windows on the Mac? In my opinion, I don't think it holds anything. I think Apple is done with Windows, and I think that's okay. And if you want Windows, it's not like there aren't options out there, but the Mac is the Mac, and it should be a Mac. Apple Silicon has basically put an end to the Hackintosh, or at least it will when the Intel support is finally dropped, and I think the days of cross-pollination between these might be finally over, and that's okay. Next up, could Apple be releasing AirPods in new colours? This is just something that came to mind yesterday for me. This is not based on any leaks. This is not based on anything, substantial. This is purely a case of, we've had AirPod Max. They've come in multiple colours. It's the first time that AirPods of any sort have been in multiple colours, so why not? It seems that Apple is embracing colour far more now with the iMacs, with what we're expecting from the MacBook Airs coming soon, from the iPad Airs themselves. So why not? Just throw some colours out there. I think that pink AirPods, if you've just bought a pink iPhone, would be a super easy buy. And a lot of people do like to kind of have everything matching nicely. I would obviously like to have a JVC branded pair to go with my display. Obviously that's what I would go for, but no, matte black would be great. Space grey AirPods would be pretty awesome. Going for some of the more interesting colours now. I don't see them going to metallics and stuff to match the Pro iPhones. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch, but AirPod colours. If you could have AirPods in any colour, what colour would you have? I'm definitely not trying to pad out for more comments. And we do have the Apple event today later, just in case you'd forgotten. It's 10 AM Cupertino time, which is 6 PM here in the UK, or 5 PM GMT, so you can kind of work out your time zone from there. I will be doing some live streams beforehand. I'll be on with Mark Sequence, and I will also be on with Tech Hyped at different points during the hour before the main show, and then we will be doing our own live stream afterwards, which I guess I should probably schedule over on here. Saran Bites should be joining us, which will be lovely, because we do love a bit of Saran Bites. We did do our first podcast yesterday. I had some camera issues. However, I think it was pretty awesome, so go and check that out. I will link it up here, 941 podcast. Also, we do still need to work out how to upload the audio to something, but we'll send you links as soon as that's done. But in terms of the Apple event that is coming later today, what are we realistically expecting to see? Now, Mark Gurman is normally a pretty good gauge for this kind of thing, and he's saying that it is the iPhone and Apple Watch event. So that would be the main hardware that we get. iPhone, iPhone Pro, Apple Watch. That looks like the bulk of the hardware. It is possible that we will get the AirPods. I'm really hoping that we will, because I'd be really annoyed if there's no hardware for me at this event, because I don't need an Apple Watch, I don't need an iPhone, but I could probably go for some new AirPods if they turn up. So that is the one thing that I would be interested in picking up from this event if that's the case. I also think that we'll probably get some add-ons to Fitness Plus with the Apple Watch stuff. If they're going to talk about fitness, it's going to be while they're talking about the watch. And beyond that, we don't really know what else to expect at this event. I think there will probably be some services stuff. We'll probably get a couple of trailers for upcoming stuff from Apple TV. We'll probably get to see a bit more maybe of Foundation, which I think is going to be pretty epic. But that's kind of what we're expecting for this event. As much as I would love to see the MacBook Pros with M1X, honestly, I'm losing faith a little bit. I think it's probably at best 25% chance. The next event, which I would tentatively say if we are getting 2 events this year, would be probably October 12th. We will be seeing the iPad Mini with its redesign and the new Macs. And I think if they're going to push it back to there, we might well see that Mac Mini come at the same time as those MacBook Pros. And in addition to the iPad and the Mac, I do think we are going to see a new version of Final Cut, which I've mentioned in the past. And I have a really good reason for this. The last time that Apple attended the American Broadcast Association's event in Las Vegas was when they introduced Final Cut 10. Now, they didn't attend at all since then, and I think at that point they bought out all of the sponsorship spots to really push Final Cut. This year, there were reports that they were attending again, and then all of a sudden they disappeared. So I've got a feeling that in October, Apple is going to release Final Cut 11 or Final Cut Go or something like that. I think it will be a complete rebuild that's built on the Apple Silicon architecture with Intel as a compatibility layer rather than the other way around. And I think that it will work on iPads, and I think it will work on all iPads. I don't think it's going to be limited to M1 iPads, but you will probably be more limited in terms of 3D text and things like that, which is exactly what you have at the moment, limitations-wise, if you have a lower RAM system on a Mac. So I think that's quite possible, and I do think that streaming is probably going to be coming to that as like a live streaming studio type app or live TV production. That would also be pretty awesome. But the other thing that I think they may announce, and I don't know, this could be me going off on a tangent completely, but I think they might announce a partnership with Steam to make use of Vulkan and Molten MK, which are basically compatibility layers that Steam has built. As far as I understand it, I'm not somebody that knows a great deal about this stuff, but as far as I understand it, it's a compatibility layer that has been built so that they can use a lot of the Windows games running on SteamOS, which they need to have up and running for the Steam Decks, which are coming out at the end of the year. Now, given the history that Steam and Epic have, where Epic and Steam compete in terms of game stores, and Epic pulled all their stuff off of Steam and all of that kind of thing, I feel like Apple might partner with Steam to annoy Epic, but that would also, for us, mean that M1 and M1X Macs will probably get much wider game support all of a sudden because of this. So my fingers are well and truly crossed for that one. Let's get into your iCave answers and we can get on with this show for today. So, Randomness R asks, iCave Answers, hey mate, I was just wondering, I always charge my iPhone 11 Pro Max using a 10-watt wireless Qi charger. Is that bad for the battery? I want to keep my battery health as good as possible as I'm keeping the iPhone for the next 2 to 3 years. Thanks. Okay, so a couple of little things here. The first thing is that if you're using a Qi charger and not MagSafe, you are only charging at 7.5 watts. That's the highest that Apple supports on anything other than its own MagSafe. So don't worry, that's the fastest that it's charging. That's what I also charge at most of the time because I have in the car an ESR Halo lock mount, which is fantastic. So it mounts on there and charges through there. I've only ever charged my 12 Pro Max wirelessly, really. I think it's been plugged in like maybe 3 or 4 times, and it's still at 98%. So I don't think that this is going to cause any issues. Now, they talk about battery heating being a problem, and there is definitely more heat generated during wireless charging, but that heat is not generated by the battery, it's generated by things around the battery heating up. So I don't think that is causing any issues. I don't think you're going to have any problems with that. You're not charging it incredibly fast. I would say just make sure you've got the smart charging switched on, and that will probably be all you need to do. But Apple is really good at managing the charging on these things, so don't really worry about battery health. Tony Ward asks, iCave Answers, when will Apple announce the new Apple TV? The new design encompassing HomePod speakers, LiDAR/mocap, and the new games controller. Normally this would come with the iPhone, Apple Watch, etc., as it's not a Mac computer, so I'm hoping September 14th. Enough time so that everyone knows about it and our Christmas stockings are filled. What do you think? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that is a very ambitious thing. I think we're probably at least a year out from getting a combined Apple TV with speakers and mocap, possibly 18 months to 2 years. I think it would be awesome. I think it's something that Apple does need to do. They do need to address the lounge, but Mark Gurman has said that internally there are people that work for Apple's lounge home strategy team and they're not happy with the way that things are going there, so I don't think we're going to be seeing anything interesting anytime soon, very sadly. Evan Rogers asks, Event Live Answers, I spent more than a reasonable amount of time over the past week calculating Apple's cost per chip for the prospective M1X and M1Z SoCs. I still don't think those are going to be the names, by the way. I think M1X, M1Z isn't a thing. A monolithic M1Z 20 CPU 64 GPU is slightly cheaper for Apple to produce than dual M1X 10 CPU 32 GPU chips by about $20 in die costs. If Apple can indeed make monolithic M1Z cheaper or at a cost to an MCM design, do you think that Apple will go that route for the M1Z? I don't think so, and it's not so much about the individual chip price, it's more about the R&D and the design and the setup that would have to go into it ahead of time. They're not going to be making enormous amounts of these things. I don't know how many Mac Pros sell. I would say it's probably less than 100,000 in the entire lifetime of the device. So I actually think that those $20 savings per chip, when you push it out to a wafer cost and how much it costs to develop the tooling and the stuff that goes around it, I don't think it would be as feasible as just making a fabric that you can put multiple dies into. That would be my thought, but I really don't know. And Brian Data asks, iCave Answers, I'm still very doubtful on a Mac Mini at this week's Apple event. Are you still a believer on the Mac Mini being announced this week? I still want to believe, but I'm realistic in that I don't think we're going to see them. I would be so delighted if everything is announced this week and then we just have a bit of a lead time before stuff actually comes out. But it's not going to be sort of more than a month to 6 weeks before we get to order these things. And I do think we are going to get that extra Apple event probably on the 12th of October. They'll want to keep them kind of close together, maybe 4 weeks apart if they're going to do multiple events, because they do want to have as big of a gap as possible before Christmas, but without crowding the events together. So I think we're going to have 4 weeks of people online talking about Apple Watch and iPhone and AirPods, and then we can start the rumour mill up again and get our M1Xs. I think we'll start to see a few more parts leaks and things like that over the coming weeks. So that's it for this show, guys, but that is not it for today. As I say, I'm going to be on some pre-shows before the event. If you want to know where I am and what times, then make sure you follow me on Twitter at iCave_Dave. You'll be able to find all the stuff there for where we're going to be. Make sure you do watch our podcast from yesterday with Saran. Would love to get some feedback from you. And in the community posts, that's where you will find the bingo card once I get round to actually making it. We've got a few hours, right? Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.